everyone, Big Pauly back for the last of my Road to Skywalker Star Wars review series. Yes. So yes, the last film in the series 1 to 8 is The Last Jedi. I'm going to put this in the player. We're going to watch it in 3D. I'm going to give you my verdict on the movie. When this came out, this was actually my film of the year. So I'll go over a few bits and pieces of what I love about this film, and also a few iffy bits, bits that could have been done better or maybe should have been changed. But anyway, let's stick in The Last Jedi and I'll give you my review after the film. Okay, movie is in, 3D glasses are on, let's turn out the external lights and let's enjoy The Last Jedi. Last time. Okay, so The Last Jedi, yes. Episode 8. Directed by Ryan Johnson. Or Ryan Johnson, however you want to say it. Okay, so what do we think of The Last Jedi? Oh, I love that cover. All the red and the white, yes. Okay, so the basic premise of The Last Jedi, as we know, at the end of The Force Awakens, Rey went looking for Luke onto the island, started to hand him the lightsaber. So The Last Jedi kicks off with a little bit of ass kicking from Poe in his X-Wing fighter as he attacks Star Destroyer, and we get some bombers that are going to take out a dreadnought ship, which is one of the First Order's huge ships. So the Resistance managed to strike a big blow by taking out the dreadnought, and they zoom off into hyperspace. And unbeknownst to them, there's actually a tracker. So they're being tracked through light speed, which is a new thing. Meanwhile, Finn wakes from his coma after getting his back sliced by Kylo in the forest at the end of Force Awakens, and awakes to ask one question. Where's Rey? Okay, so now we are back on the island, and it pretty much takes up almost exactly where we left it at the end of The Force Awakens, with Rey handing Luke the lightsaber. And Luke has been on this island, he's been hiding out, he's been living his life. All of a sudden, this young, beautiful woman turns up, hands him a lightsaber. What is the first thing you're going to do with the lightsaber? You're going to sling it over your shoulder. Oh my God. I tell you what, when that happened, I laughed. I almost wheezed myself in the cinema. A lot of people don't like that scene. It's like, well, that's an insult. But what was Luke supposed to do with it? What would he have done with it? Lit it up and sliced Rey in half? He's gone there to die. He's gone there because he's a failure. He failed Kylo. He failed the Jedi students. He wants to be on his own. He's a bit like, Obi-Wan, bit of a hermit. What's the last thing he wants? A bleeding lightsaber to remind him of all the bad times. So, yes, of course he's going to throw it over his shoulder. He doesn't want to be found. That's why he's buried his X-Wing fighter in the water. So anyway, all the time that Rey's on the island, she's trying to persuade him to train her. She's always felt something inside her that's making her, aware of the Force and aware of the light and the darkness. and she needs a teacher. And he's very reluctant, Luke is very reluctant to train her because of the failings of him trying to teach young Ben Solo, which turned into a bit of a disaster. In the end, Luke gives in, starts to train Rey with a few simple steps, and realises exactly how in touch with the Force that she is, with the dark side, the light side. Meanwhile, back at the Resistance fleet, they're still trying to flee the First Order. They come up with this idea of trying to find a code breaker that can hack into the First Order ship in order to deactivate the tracker, and then they can hyperspace out and just leave the First Order fleet behind. The only thing is, the only code breaker that Maz Kanata knows of is on Canto Bight. That's right. A very posh looking planet, a cross between like Las Vegas, casinos and rich people and funny looking horse riding and some strange aliens. Unfortunately, Finn and his new friend Rose, that basically zapped his arse into an escape pod, travel to Canto Bight to find this code breaker. They get busted for landing their ship in the sand. Of course, old Anakin would know about the sand. And they get thrown into a cell. So gone is any chance of getting his code breaker to come back with them. But they do team up with a code breaker, played by Benicio del Toro, playing a character called DJ. Yes, he's got one of the weirdest stutters I've ever heard. But he goes back with them. They infiltrate the First Order ship, and obviously he does a bit of double crossing them, and their plan goes down the toilet. Chewie gets to nosh on a porg or two. Yes, I know, scary, isn't it? And Rey and Kylo discover they have this weird force projection ability, that they can see each other, which has never been done in a Star Wars film before. Turns out, though, neither of them have got the force ability to actually pull that off. But, of course, it was all laid out. All these plans were laid out by good old Snoke himself. That's right. Kylo takes Rey before Snoke in this big old red room, beautiful looking red room, and these Praetorian guards all dressed in plastic and red. Rey gets Kylo to turn on Snoke and do the old slicing trick. I haven't seen anybody that sliced since Darth Maul. Meanwhile, the Resistance fleet is now being run by Laura Dern from Jurassic Park, Vice Admiral Haldo, looking more like a chess piece. And her plan is to guide the Resistance to this abandoned world called Crate, which kind of resembles Hoth. And of course we get these massive big old attack walkers. Ooh, that sounds familiar. The Resistance try to hold up in this abandoned rebel base, and in order to give them time to escape, we have a little battle with some crappy old ships that actually have got no guns and don't fire, so that's a bit poor. But Luke turns up, sporting a much younger beard, and goes one-to-one with Kylo, and we discover in the end that Luke is actually a force projection. That's never been done before in Star Wars. The Resistance, what's left of the Resistance, managed to escape Crate on board the Millennium Falcon, and they zoom off to their next destination, which we will hopefully find out in Rise of Skywalker what they've been up to. Okay, so that's the premise of the movie. As I said, directed by Rian Johnson. Now, The Last Jedi divided audiences like no other Star Wars film has. A lot of people had no problem with it. I had no problem with it. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was one of the best Star Wars films, but it was a really good, entertaining Star Wars film. It was my film of the year in 2017. There are some great action pieces. The beginning with the attack on the Dreadnought, Poe with his X-wing taking out the cannons on the actual dreadnought. He does a handbrake turn in an X-wing fighter. When have you ever seen that in a Star Wars film? The scenes on Uktar, where Luke is, are great. They look fantastic. There's some very weird looking stuff going on. We get lots of Porg action, which is always good. We also see a four-titted monster, and we find out where the coloured milk comes from. Thank you very much, Aunt Beru. The battle on Crate is exciting, even though the Resistance fighters don't shoot back. I love the look of it, the way they turn up the red of this salt and the trenches, and it does remind me a little bit of Hoth with these walkers. The walkers actually don't have too much to do though. They're just kind of like there for muscle. And the Canto Bight scenes are okay, maybe a little bit overstretched. It could have been trimmed down a bit. And the Faviers, are they? I think they're called, the horses. I don't know if that was actually necessary to have that in there, because it really didn't do anything to the film. But the scenes around Canto Bight were good. The chase scenes and the casino scenes was really funny with lots of weird looking creatures. So the action was fantastic. The pacing was good. The pacing was pretty good. As I say, apart from maybe the Canto Bight scenes, which dragged a little bit. So as I say, they could have trimmed that down. Yes. Now, in previous Star Wars, there's been no indication that Princess Leia actually was well versed in the Force and had Force abilities. And all of a sudden she's flying through space, which a lot of people hated it, absolutely hated it. It was weird. It was weird. She's just floating there in space, and all of a sudden her hand starts doing a weird thing and she opens her eyes. She shouldn't really open her eyes because otherwise her eyeballs are freeze. But yeah, that was a bit weird and maybe not needed. That could have been a way to write Princess Leia out. She died heroically on board that ship. There was also a scene later on when they were abandoning the fleet, and Haldo, Laura Dern, had to stay behind in order to give the rebels, chance to escape and get to Crate. That also could have been another good opportunity for maybe Leia to stay behind, take control of this ship, one last stand against the First Order, and fly into Hux's ship. And that would have been a good going away for Leia. But she's in The Rise of Skywalker, using footage from The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So we'll see how that fits in and how that works. I hope they've really done it justice. But apparently it's really good. Apparently it's a really good set of scenes that she's got. The acting was top-notch, first-rate. Daisy Ridley, incredible, fantastic. Adam Driver, brilliant. Finn kind of got brushed to the sidelines a little bit with Rose. But I'm hoping Rose is going to kick some ass in The Rise of Skywalker, because she needs a big meaty role. And I'm hoping that we're going to get that. And also Oscar Isaac was a lot more active in this, trying to take control of the rebellion over Haldo. Mark Hamill was really good. A very different Luke than we've ever known before. And I would like to have had a more upbeat Luke. But I suppose, he's miserable, he's depressed because he's failed Ben. And yeah, I would have liked to have had a more upbeat Luke. But we'll see what happens in The Rise of Skywalker, whether he's going to be a Force ghost. General Hux has had a complete makeover. Yeah, he was quite scary in The Force Awakens, especially when he was giving that speech before they fired the Starkiller base. But in this film, he was comic relief. He was kind of a joke, really. So I don't know what they did with the writing with Hux, because they just made him a joke. And I really had high hopes for his evilness to come out a little bit. So that's one little thing that I didn't like about The Last Jedi. But we did get to see Vivian from the young ones at the beginning, so that's always good. Okay, so picture quality was really good, fantastic. I watched it in 3D. There was some good depth moments, especially when the Dreadnought ship came over, almost poking out at the actual screen. When the ship blew up with Leia on, there was lots of bits floating around, so that gave it good depth element. So some good pop-out moments, but mostly a lot of depth, which was really good. So it was a good 3D presentation. The sound was really good, lots of bass. The thing with Disney is that their volume levels are always slightly lower than what they should be. So rather than having the amp on 60, I had to crank it up to 65 just to get that extra oomph. So I wish Disney would sort out their sound on their Blu-rays and their 4Ks and things. But yeah, so there we go. So that's my review of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. How do I rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, so 1 being a comedy act like General Hux, and 10 being lots of porgs on the Millennium Falcon. I would give The Last Jedi 8 crystal critters on crate. Say that 10 times fast. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my review of The Last Jedi. This video actually goes out as The Rise of Skywalker opens, so you may already know what's happened. I haven't yet because I will be seeing it on the Friday. All we know for now is that Finn is Lando's son, and Rey and Poe are brother and sister. Or are they? Whoever's related to who, and whether we get to see Rey's parents, it's all part of the journey. So I hope you enjoyed my little journey through the road to Skywalker. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, comment below if you liked The Last Jedi, if you didn't like The Last Jedi, what you didn't like from The Last Jedi, and I'll see you on my movie review for The Rise of Skywalker on Friday. And always remember, the Force will be with you. Always.